Peace and blessings, everyone. Welcome back to our page. Thank you so much for all you've been doing to like and share and subscribe. We really appreciate you. This video is 10 tips on how to run your box truck. If you don't know how to run, well, you're probably going to go under. So this video, we hope, really blesses you.
Yes, like you said, I hear it all the time with us having a dispatch business. I see it all the time, not hear it all the time, I see it all the time, is people inquiring, for our services, whether they're renting, trying out, or whether they bought their box truck and they're, fully invested in it. And there's just no game plan, set for it. So I just thought that this would be very helpful, as far as just kind of giving you some things to think about once you get your box truck, and just hopefully it helps you, honestly, maximize your week. That's really what you want to do with any truck, whether it's your box truck, whether it's a semi, is you want to maximize profits, right? So this will just kind of help outline some things that you can think about. And then also, if you're not necessarily the driver of it, or you're working with an employee driver, this would honestly be good to sit down with them and kind of go over as far as things that you require of them on how to run. You shouldn't just put somebody in your truck and just, hear the keys, this is your dispatcher,
Yes.
Listen to her. No, teach your driver how to run and how to run properly, because at the end of the day, that's your truck, this is your business, this is your authority, and it's your money. So just make sure that your driver knows exactly what is required of him. And that way, somebody like me, a dispatcher, doesn't have to teach him how to run. That he already hears that coming from the owner. So that's very important. So the first thing is, how do I get my loads? So where are my loads coming from? And like I just said, is that coming from a dispatcher? Is that coming from a load board? Am I finding my loads myself? Is that coming from a broker? Am I going to start looking for direct shippers? Depending upon what way you're going to go, you're going to have to do your research on all of them. So if you're going to go with a dispatching company, you want to do your research on this dispatching company. What is their experience? I mean, do they understand what it's even like to be a carrier? Do they understand different apps? That is going to be very important when hiring a dispatch company to dispatch your trucks. If it's a shipper, that's going to take a while. Getting shipping contracts take a bit of time.
Yes.
And a lot of shipping companies don't like to work with just one carrier that just has one truck, or even one carrier that even has 5 trucks. Why? Because they have more of a demand, and they rather work with one broker that can find them 100 trucks. So that's why a lot of shippers go to brokers. That's really the need for brokers, is they're able to take on a company like, say for instance, Ross or TJ Maxx, and have 100 loads come out that week, and they're able to find 100 different carriers to find those loads. So if you're going to find that with a shipping company, you're definitely going to be doing a lot of door knocking, a lot of cold calling. And I'm saying this speaking from, I have broker experience myself for a couple years. It's a lot of cold calling. It's a lot of building relationship. So that's just not something that you're going to get your authority, get your truck, and then start running with a shipper. So you want to do your research on that, and what is that going to take? The best thing is honestly to get on the load boards or get a relationship with a broker. Brokers have multiple loads. And so that's kind of where you want to kind of, figure out, how am I going to run my truck? What does that look like for me? The next thing is know your market. So I'll give you an example. We're based out here in Florida. My husband runs reefers, 53-foot reefers. He knows off the bat that coming out of Florida, he is not going to get $3 or $4 a mile. As much as we would love that, do we get lucky sometimes? Absolutely. But no, Florida is a horrible market to come out of Florida. The rule for Florida is get your money coming in, because you're definitely not going to get it going out. So know the market. Don't have your truck in Florida and then be asking brokers or even your dispatcher, I need at least $2 a mile coming out. Because your truck is going to be sitting there for a couple of days until they maybe get lucky and find somebody that's just desperate, to get their shipment moved. So just know the market, know where your truck is. Also on the flip end of that, if your truck is in California or say Illinois, coming out of there, and you're only asking for $1.80 a mile or even $2 a mile, well, those are great areas right now, for box trucks. So know that, okay, I can be getting more than $2 a mile coming out of there, especially out of California. So You just really need to know your market, so that way, honestly, you know, for one, if you're hiring a dispatch company, are they doing their job? You know, and then secondly, you know, you're just making sure that you're understanding, you know, how your business actually runs. You know, I'm a strong believer of, you don't want to ever leave your business in somebody else's hands just to run, and if something, God forbid, ever happens to that person, you don't know how to run your business. So the best thing to do, get on your phone, figure out what's going on in the world, because that really kind of determines the market. Figure out what's going on, seasons determine the market. Know what freight is moving during different times and where it's moving to. Is there issues at the port going on? Like, I know you posted something with California where it was what was
port
it?
Congestion.
Right. So what does that mean? Well, that means loads. You know, you're gonna see a lot of loads sitting, and they're gonna need a lot of trucks probably starting to move those loads. So things like that, you know, that you want to kind of keep your eye out on for what's going on. The next thing is, have a plan for your week. And when I say that is, if you're the owner and you're putting a driver in your truck, or if you're going to be the driver, figure out what your week is going to look like. That way you know exactly what type of loads to book. So you're not necessarily, say for instance, if you are going on the load boards to book your loads, or even if brokers are sending you a list of loads, like I get a list of loads every day, you know, from different places. I'm not looking at the load and just saying, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna take this one because that pays the most. Well, it could be a load going from Pennsylvania to California, and it's paying me $4,000. I'm like, oh my God, it's paying me $4,000. I'm gonna go get that load and send my driver there, you know? Well, look how long it's gonna take your driver to get there, and it's a Monday. So you really ruined your whole week at that point, because it's gonna take you a whole week to get to California. What, you probably get there by what, Thursday, box truck, you know? So you kind of cut yourself short on that. Versus, you know, maybe planning that load for Friday. So guess what? I have a Friday pickup, and then I have Monday delivery, because that's when most, you know, loads deliver. If it's over the weekend, it's Monday. It's very rare that some deliver over the weekend. But you're not cutting your week out. So what I like to do with my drivers is, we do short runs. We're doing 600 to 800 runs, pick up first thing in the morning. Monday morning, we're delivering first thing Tuesday morning. That way my driver's empty by 10 o'clock. I'm ready for him to get the next load. It gives him a little time if he does have to deadhead a little bit to go pick up that load. And we're picking up the next load, and he's running and he's delivering the next day. That's kind of how you want your week to look like, because then you're maximizing. Think about it like that. If I'm making $700 to $1,000 doing loads like that, you know, or honestly more, if you're doing, you know, if you're doing 600 to 800 miles, you're probably doing 1,000 to 1,300. You know, think of it, that's like a day rate that you're getting if you're running like that. If you're picking up a load that's 400 miles on Monday and you are waiting until Tuesday night to deliver that load, you're not running right. Like, that's just you've wasted, you know, you've wasted 2 days basically. So basically you made $200 each day. So think of it like that, if that makes sense. How to start your day. That goes back to what I just said. You know, you need to be getting up first thing in the morning and get that truck moving to pick up that load 8 a.m., 6 a.m., you know, 7 a.m. Whatever the first thing is, I can tell my drivers they're going to make a lot of money, and I can tell my drivers that, you know, are going to be complaining to me at the end of the week because they only made, you know, $3,000 or $4,000. You know, I can always see that coming. And it's mostly because of how they run, you know. If I get you a load at, you know, in the morning, and you're telling me you're not going to pick it up till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's fine, as long as you can get there the next day. But if you're telling me, well, no, Jessica, I'm not going to deliver this load until 3 o'clock next day because I have until 3 p.m. to deliver, that's on you. Well, it depends. If you work for us, that's not on you. That's a problem.
That's
but
on us.
That's gonna be a problem with us. You may not work for us any longer. But if it's your business or your truck, I'm not gonna say anything to you if you're just having dispatch services from us. I'm just gonna say, okay, you're gonna deliver it at 3 o'clock, but that doesn't set you up for picking up the next load. It really doesn't. Like, at that point, your day is gone, and you know, we're getting lucky now at that point, going on trying to find a load to get you out of wherever. And then what happens if they take a long time to unload you? You know, what happens if there's an issue on site? You're not leaving any room for a buffer there, and then we could lose a whole day. And then we lost a whole day, and then what? Now you've lost money that day. You know, whole day is cut off. So how you start your day is just so important, and making sure that you're setting yourself up right for that day, for problems to happen, you know, things to happen, picking up, delivering, and then, you know, getting you ready for that next load. The next thing is
Number 5, time management of your hours. This is very different than being an employee or working for a company as a company driver. You have to have the mindset of having your own business and running your own business, and that takes time. Thankfully, we have experience with that, but time management is very important. It includes running your clock, managing your clock so that you can run. So normally I advise when you start your week to have a fresh clock. You know, do your reset, and when you start, have a fresh clock. And once you start running, I advise to do an average of about 10 hours a day driving, so that you can maximize your drive time and still have enough hours to not reset. You don't want to do a 34 reset when you're out there on the road. At least I don't. I want to run every day and make money every day. I don't want to be out somewhere in Amarillo, Texas, chilling for the weekend, doing 34 hours, just sitting there in the truck stop. That's not what I want to do. I want to run every day. So maximize your time. You got 10 hours to run, like I said, on average, and then 10 hours to break. So on that break time, you're supposed to sleep, shower, eat. I even exercise, you know, do your laundry. You shouldn't be in your 10-hour break going to hang out at the lounge somewhere, going to the club, or going to see, you know, your cousin, your friends. This is not the time for that. This is the time to handle your business and run a clock. So if you stop at whatever, 10 o'clock, do 10 hours break after that so you can legally run, get your rest. You know, some people need 4 hours rest, 5. You know, I'm better with 6 or 7, and you need to prioritize resting and sleeping so that you're not driving fatigue. That's a safety issue and a hazard to not only you, but everyone on the road. So time management is very important. Run your clock and get in your 10 hours and run it efficiently. Plan that out. That's not something you just wing and have to be lax or haphazardly about. You want to be very proactive in managing your time and your clock.
Right. So now basically, you know, you have your load, you figured out where you're getting your loads from, you planned your day, you planned your week, you know exactly, because you plan your week, you know exactly what type of loads you're looking for on the load board, and then you get a load, you know, from a broker. The next thing is the broker is going to email you a recon with driver's instructions, or sometimes they send it separately depending upon what broker you're using. Read the recon is so important, something that my husband has to tell me a couple times.
Very important.
But it's very important because you want to make sure, for one, you know, not all brokers, because I won't say this because I used to be a broker, not all brokers lie. But there are some slick ones in the bunch.
Some are shady.
Yes. So read the recon. Make sure that it's what you committed to. Make sure it's the weight that you committed to. Make sure that it's the miles that you committed to. Make sure that the pickup place, this is a big one, the pickup place and the delivery place is exactly what you committed to.
Right.
A lot of times brokers will post from different areas. And I know, honestly, this drives carriers crazy. And I had to explain this to my husband. A lot of times they do that is because their load is picking up from a weird small town, and nobody will know where that is. So what they try to do is they try to pinpoint the closest major city to that, to post it to attract carriers to, you know, call on their load so they can book the load. So when you get the recon, you need to really make sure that it's picking up from the place you agreed on, that broker had that discussion with you, because sometimes they won't. And you'll just see on the recon, and then you'll be like, oh, the driver, you know, here, oh, I have to go here. Well, Jessica, that's, you know, that's 200-mile deadhead for me, you know? So it's things like that you really need to pay attention from, because guess what? You agreed to that rate due to what? The rate per mile on where you said you're going to pick up the load from and deliver the load from. And if that happens to be somewhere a lot further out than what you agreed on, then don't sign that recon. You need to go back to that broker. You need to say, hey, look, this is not what's spoken. If you don't mind picking up the load, still say, hey, I don't mind picking up the load, but I need X amount of money to do that because this is a lot further than what I thought and it wasn't communicated.
And hold on, before we go on for that one, also, I want to touch on, once you commit to a recon, try to make it happen. Like, you don't, and
so
Jessica could touch on that. She has broker experience. So once you commit to a recon, you really want to make that happen, make that load happen. Because if you don't, you know, Jessica could touch on why that's just not good.
I'm so glad. I'm actually so glad that he brought that up, because you don't know how many times that you get pinged for signing that recon and then going back to the broker and saying, you know what, never mind, you know, I'm not going to pick up that load. Or and a lot of times it's because you probably found another load. Right. You know, you probably found, if it's something to do with the recon, that's one issue. Go back to the broker, work it out, and tell him why you're not doing that or why you need more money. But if it's something because you committed to that load and then you happen to see a better load now, and you know you want to do that load because that load's more money and stuff, I can completely get it. But that's gonna catch up with you over time. And when I had broker experience, basically brokers keep notes on loads. Brokers also, it goes against your authority. So brokers actually start seeing that this carrier falls out on loads. This carrier is not a good carrier. So what does that mean for your authority? Well, when you start going back to try to book loads with different brokers, they're not going to use you. I'm telling you, I've had this happen, and I've had to do this as a broker myself. Tell carriers, I cannot use you because you are not reliable. Like, and it could be like, oh, this was an old driver. It doesn't matter. In our system, we just can't use you, you know? And not only that, but there's also, depending upon what brokerage is, and I'm not gonna even go into that because I can't go into that, but depending upon what broker it is, brokers actually have a system, a back office system that they use where all different brokers can see what's going on with your authority. Safety, like he just said, safety, compliance, are they reliable? So it's just so important, if you are working with a dispatcher, that for one, your dispatcher knows that, because I know a lot of dispatchers that don't know that. So that your dispatcher understands that they're not doing that on your behalf, under your authority, and that if your dispatcher is bringing you a load, did they commit to it already, or do they have the broker on the other line and then calling you before they commit and before y'all can figure out what's going on? So yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Marlon, because that is, I mean, that is going to drive your authority in the ground. And when I mean drive it in the ground, it's going to drive it in the ground. You want to get to a place where we have brokers call us for loads. We have email. You should see our email. It's crazy, full of emails of different loads. We get flatbed loads. We don't even run flatbeds. Like, and it's just because our authority is in such good standing. We've took care of our authority. He's been a great carrier. He's done great with the shippers, and we'll get more into time and all that kind of stuff. But it's just, I'm so glad you touched on that, because that's so important. And I know a lot of new people that come into this business, they don't know that. And you're booking loads, you're canceling loads, you're booking loads, and that is going to catch up with you. The next thing is proper communication. It kind of runs into the same thing we've been just saying. So the only thing I'll add on that is having proper communication with your dispatcher and giving them accurate ETAs. It goes exactly to what I was just saying on brokers not wanting to use you. If you're late for loads, you know, after you said, you know, you're gonna be there on this time, I understand things happen with the truck, that's one thing. But if it's a consistent thing, trust me, they're keeping track of that, you know. Give accurate, if you have to go get gas or get something, you know, to eat, especially if it's an open window, first come, first serve, 8 to 3, you know, tell your dispatcher that, or tell the broker that, hey, look, I'm gonna go grab something to eat, get some fuel. My ETA is 12 o'clock. I'll be there 12 noon. You know, be just punctual, you know, have great communication with if you happen to be in traffic and you notice, hey, I'm going to be 30 minutes late. It's better just to over communicate with these brokers and your dispatcher than for us to be blowing you up or wondering what's going on, or the broker calling you. If the broker has to call you, honestly, you know, you're not doing your job on communicating, and they don't want to babysit, honestly. Like, you got to understand, a broker has so many loads that they actually notice the ones that are always, and I do mine through email. I'm not calling these brokers all the time. When I'm taking care in my dispatch company, when I'm taking care of my carriers, and they tell me they're gonna be there I am emailing that broker, I'm giving them that communication, and that has paid off. Brokers have come back to me and have given me loads, have asked me, hey, do you have that same truck in this area? So just have great communication, because it definitely will pay off.
And number 8 is fuel efficiency. You definitely, when you're running, one of the keys to running is your fuel. That's one of your biggest expenses out there, and you want to be efficient with your fuel. So basically, you take your total trip miles and divide that by your truck's miles per gallon, and that's going to equal the number of gallons that you need for that trip. So you need to know that before you start the trip, so that you can know where you want to fill up at and where you want to fuel up at. So if something is $4 a gallon on your route and something else is $3.50, well, you want to go to the one that's $3.50 to fill up, because that's going to maximize your profits. That's managing your expenses. So part of your fuel efficiency, the things that come into that that you have to think about is your weight, your speed, the weather, the mountains. So like if you're going up a lot of mountains, that's going to come into play, and your tire pressure. So you don't want to, if you have, some trucks can only do 65, some trucks can only do 70, but you really don't want to be doing your max speed for your loads. That's going to burn your fuel. So a lot of times I don't really go over 65 unless you're pressed for time and you have to. It's also a safety issue if you feel you have to rush, so you should never have to put yourself in a situation when you have to rush, because that's just jeopardizing and putting yourself and others on the road at risk. So also, if it's raining, if it's freezing temperatures, you're not gonna be able to go as fast as you would like. So that's gonna affect the fuel, and you know, also goes back into your time management and your communication, your weight. If you're getting heavy loads, that's gonna affect your fuel. So know your truck's miles per gallon. That's very important. Different trucks have different miles per gallons that they can get. Obviously, the newer trucks have better miles per gallon ratios, which is what makes that a better investment. So fuel efficiency is very important. You should know, and once you do this for a while, you're going to know the different truck stops where to fill up at and where not to. But very important on how to stay efficient with your fuel, which will help you to keep that expense down, which is your biggest expense out there on the road.
Yeah, and he said something that kind of made me think too, and it probably should have went at planning your day, is no road closures, because he was talking about weather and stuff.
Right.
And like that goes back to like planning out your day. Like, know what's going on in that state or in that area. Like, look that up and see are the bridges closed. Like, I know a couple weeks ago, New York was flooded. It was completely flooded in New York, and I had drivers that were going there. One driver was delivering, one driver was picking up. But if they are going there, can they even pick up that load? And not only that, if my driver's going there, am I getting more money for that? Am I getting more money because there's road closures and there's something going on in that state? So he kind of brought that to my memory when he said that. Number 9 is park up close to your next delivery. So that just kind of goes with kind of planning out your day. If I'm picking up a load, I'm running 700 miles to deliver next day, I'm probably going to want to, with a box truck, you're probably getting a hotel unless you have a sleeper in there. But you're probably going to want to park up close to your delivery, or get a little further down there, so that way you are delivering, first thing in the morning. And that just really goes into like time management,
Yes.
Pick up the load early, deliver the load early, deliver the load on time. That way, like I said, it gives room to buffer if things go wrong. And trust me, ask anybody in this business, things go wrong. My day is never the same. It just depends on what's going on. A guy can go to a load, and guess what? They don't even have the load. The load's not ready. Then what? Then guess what? I have to go back and find my driver a load. But if you delivered at 3 o'clock, I'm not finding you another load. So it's just like things like that. Or if you delivered at 5 o'clock at night, brokers' days, y'all, are 8 to 5. That is their work days. If you ever notice a load board and how loads work on the load board, you'll notice that brokers' days are 8 to 5, and some brokers don't even really work that. You know, a lot of times it's 8 to 3. You know, shippers, a lot of that is 8 to 3. You know, there might be some times where you find people that, you can deliver later, or deliver a lot earlier. But I always have it set in my mind, 8 to 5 are the working hours of the day for a trucking business and for a broker. So if my guy's delivering at 3 and he's on site and by 4 o'clock they tell him that they don't have the load, I only have 1 hour to find him another load. And that's if he gets a load for that day, because it probably will be for that next day. And I probably took so long finding that load, because as you know, box truck loads are not, a lot. Maybe I can find him a load in like 10 minutes. Box truck load, I'm literally sitting there for an hour or 2 hours analyzing these loads, trying to find the best loads, because they're not a lot of loads out there. So just leave some time up for buffer for things to go wrong, because things do happen and they do go wrong. And then you want to just close out the week. Like I said, it goes back to that whole PA to Cali, deal. Close out the week to where Friday you're delivering your load, and then Friday afternoon you're picking up a long run. And when I say long run, I'm talking about like probably 1,000 miles plus or 900 miles and up. That can take you through the weekend. And that can also, going back to what he was saying, help you reset some of those hours as well. So that way on Monday you are kind of coming in right with some fresh hours.
Let's get it.
Because you did a long run and you probably picked up a load Friday, you probably ran all day Saturday, you're probably close to it, on Sunday, by Sunday. So you're really kind of resetting your hours on Sunday, and then Monday you're delivering that. And then that's when you're getting kind of that bulk of that money. So throughout the week, you're probably making, 700,000 here, 1,300, depending upon what's going on. And then on Friday, you're probably getting those $2,000 runs and up, because you're doing longer runs that are going to run throughout the weekend. You are going to do a PA to Cali, or you are going to do, I don't know, Texas, New York to Texas, something like that. But just be smart. We want to help you be smart about your business. That's really what it comes down to.
Working smarter, not harder.
Right. And if you can learn from our mistakes and learn from how we had to learn the hard way, figuring things out, then that's what we're here for. So I really hope, or we really hope, this video has helped you. Please comment, if you have, I know probably a lot of people want to know the fuel thing, of how you figured out your fuel. So if you want to know that, comment below and he can give you that equation on how to figure that out, because that is important.
Yes, we're here to help.
And please like and share, and we will see everybody on the next video.